See, I think we got one.
It's FYF Sports, man. It's Friday morning, November 13th. Friday the 13th. Crazy day, man. What we're going to start trying to do every Friday is we're going to try to start every Friday with just kind of a rundown on sports news. Just kind of give you guys just like a weekly news show to kind of catch you up on some of the things you may or may have not heard about. So we're going to be touching on a lot of topics today, a lot of different stories. NBA draft news, Giannis Antetokounmpo, trade updates, some NFL, and we're going to touch on a little bit of everything today. So before we get started, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to this video. Live streams are going to start coming more frequently. The only way you stay up to date with those videos is if you hit that subscribe button. So we got a lot of new things coming for the channel. Congratulations to the winner of the Ps5 Giveaway, CA3's Sports Talk. This guy comes into the panel. He supports the channel. He shows up to the videos. He engages. He comments. And luckily, we did a live drawing yesterday for the PS5, and his name was pulled. I mean, that could be you next. I mean, the goal is to try to find more sponsors to sponsor more giveaways. So who knows what we will be giving away next on this show? Cash prizes, gift cards, all of that stuff is going to be coming soon here on FYF Sports. So again, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Again, we're grinding to 20K subscribers. I mean, this what we doing here at FYF Sports has never been done before. All of the engagement, all of the loyalty, I mean, all of the support from Facebook. Our Facebook group is growing astronomically. All you guys from Facebook are coming over to support here, and all you guys from YouTube, I'm starting to see you guys in our Facebook lives as well. So we're just kind of growing on both platforms. So I appreciate, I appreciate all of that, and just, we're gonna continue to grind and make this channel blow up the way it's supposed to. But we're gonna go ahead and get to some of this news. We got a lot of topics to touch on today. This week's a big week for the NBA. Big week for the NBA on I think it was November 20th. Free agency starts on the 18th. We got the NBA draft, man. The NBA draft's gonna be crazy, and what we're gonna start seeing heat up over the next few days is some of these trade talks. So, over the next few days, just be cautious with the information that you get, because you're gonna hear trade scenario after trade scenario after trade scenario. And most of these trades are just coming out of thin air. These are not realistic trades. Now, some of the teams involved may be accurate with players and draft picks. We don't really know the logistics. Only the teams really know that. And a lot of these moves won't really become unveiled until draft day. But, I mean, you got players who are requesting to move on. We got Russell Westbrook news. We got Charlotte Hornets news. We got LaMelo Ball news. So we got a lot today, a lot to touch on. And we're just going to get straight to it. We're going to start off talking about, we got to start off talking about this NBA draft, man. NBA draft, man. The NBA draft is not necessarily the draft itself this year that it's so interesting. It's the moves that teams can make with these draft picks. You have so many more teams this year looking to be competitive. You have so many young teams this year with young superstars, and they're trying to build around them. And they're trying to build around them so they can win now. That's what I know this upcoming NBA season is probably going to be one of the craziest and most competitive seasons that we've seen in a long time, because you even have teams like the Atlanta Hawks. They're looking to trade for another star to put alongside Trae Young. All right, they're looking to get to the playoffs. We're looking at the Hornets. The Hornets have always had a collection of talent. They just haven't found a way to put it together on the court so it can gel successfully for them to win. But they're in trade talks everywhere. They're in trade talks for Russell Westbrook. They're looking to draft high in the draft as well. Maybe bringing in a James Wiseman or LaMelo Ball. They can go a number of different directions with the players they have. They got Terry Rozier, who's probably on the trade. You got Devontae Graham, probably one of the most surprising players in the league last year. So they got a lot of things to look forward to, but this draft is really gonna encompass a lot of different things. Some of the more interesting trade scenarios that I've kind of heard about was maybe Russell Westbrook to the Blazers. Now, again, that's something that just kind of came out of nowhere. That report dropped a few hours ago. I mean, ClutchPoints.com dropped that article, but again, that's a trade scenario where, okay, the one thing that we do know that the existence of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, that cannot last too much longer. It's the worst defensive backcourt in the NBA. I know as Blazer fan, and I'm a Blazer fan myself, I love seeing those two in the backcourt, but they both have astronomically huge contracts. Makes it extremely hard to build around them. I think to build a winning team, you have to let CJ McCollum go. But I don't think that bringing a guy like Russell Westbrook in is a great idea. But I mean, with a guy like Russell Westbrook, his contract's extremely hard to match and trade. So, you know, with how volatile of a player he was, especially last year in the playoffs, is there a team out there that's willing to mortgage everything they have to bring him in? Maybe the Knicks. I think the only teams that can realistically trade for Russell Westbrook this year are going to be the bottom dweller teams with a lot of salary cap cushion. So we're looking at the Orlandos, maybe a Washington, if they're trying to come up off of a Bradley Beal, which I highly doubt. But you're looking at bottom dweller teams with a lot of cap space for Russell Westbrook. So why he would ask to leave the Rockets, I don't know. Was he upset that Mike D'Antoni and some of that coaching staff was fired? At the end of the day, Russell Westbrook he's been in some good situations. Why he would want to leave the Rockets right now and you have a James Harden alongside of you, it makes no sense. I mean, I don't know if he's playing for wins. I don't know if he just doesn't know how to be a championship type player. But he has to understand that the repercussions of asking for a trade right now is probably going to mean that this guy is going to go to a bottom dweller team in the NBA. He's not going to be very competitive going into next year. The trade talks, the trade scenarios to the Clippers, absolutely false. You're not going to see a Russell Westbrook on any team that's competing for a championship. All right, teams are not going to mortgage their futures to bring in a guy like Russell Westbrook, especially when most of the top teams already have two superstars that they can build around. So, I mean, it's a curious situation with Russell Westbrook. I definitely wish him the best. I think it's an unfortunate situation because you're talking about a guy who, some years ago was just the MVP of the league, averaging triple doubles. Looked like he was destined to be, one of the greatest shooting guards of all time. And then it's just all starting to fall apart on him. I think some of it's due in part to his just mentality, his mindset. It's a bit selfish, and he's going to have to take a lesser role, especially trying to score the ball if he's looking to be a winner in this league. But, I mean, there you guys have it. I mean, Russell Westbrook, I definitely wish him the best, but he will probably not be in Houston next season. All right, we got some Giannis Antetokounmpo news, man. Giannis Antetokounmpo news. Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's giving the Bucks fans hope. He's giving the Bucks fans hope that he's gonna be there. He sent out a tweet. You can say it's cryptic or not, but we'll put the tweet up right here. But he posted a tweet. Now there was a guy, the Score. If you guys haven't seen that Twitter page, they posted a graphic. And as you can see on the graphic, it just basically saying Milwaukee Bucks most points in the game. Obviously got Michael Redd, Brandon Jennings, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And in the title of that, it says, "Can you see Giannis breaking that mark in the future?" And Giannis, had the praying hands, had the one finger up. He said yes. And I think that's a good indication that, to some, it's a bit cryptic. It couldn't be. It's probably is nothing, but to Bucks fans, it could mean a lot. It could be an indication that he's gonna be there in the future to be able to break that record. But I mean, for Bucks fans, I think they're in a bit of a panic right now. The man Giannis Antetokounmpo has said a number of times in the past. He's already said it multiple times that he wants to be a Buck. He's gonna stay in a Buck as long as they're winning. He's gonna be in Milwaukee. He didn't say winning championships. I think he just means winning and being able to contend at the highest level. And there's really nowhere he can go right now via trade that's going to put him in a winning situation. And that's really due in part to, the cost to bring him in, whether it's him going to a Golden State, whether it's Giannis going to the Raptors. I mean, if it's via trade and not free agency, you're going to have to mortgage an extremely large number of assets and players just to bring him in. And you're probably not going to put yourself in a winning situation. So I think what's best for Giannis, just to stay with the Bucks, man. Stay with the Bucks. Let's see how they build around you this year. The Bucks are, there are so many rumors floating around what the Bucks will do. I think some of it has to be true. We know that the Bucks are going to be out there in free agency. They're looking at guys like Bogdanovich, Joe Harris. They're looking at, players like, Harrison Barnes. They're looking to find ways to buffer that roster, to put more help, more shooting around him, so they can, have more of a fight in the playoffs. And I think the playoffs, their lack of shooting, lack of depth, lack of defensive presence, I think that's really hurt them. So bringing some guys in who can take and make shots in the playoffs, I think that's going to be key for them going into next season. So these next coming days, again, if you guys see trade scenarios, if you hear trade rumors, make sure you send them to us or bring them up in the live chats, because I'm really curious to see what the Bucks are going to do. We've heard this Chris Paul to the Bucks, but if you look at the cap situation, getting Chris Paul to the Bucks is really impossible. It's really an impossibility. Now we heard people kind of floating that around out there. It sounded great, but the Bucks are over the cap. Chris Paul has $40 million a $40 million contract. To bring him in is going to be next to impossible. You would have to sacrifice too many players. So that's not realistic. So I like to look at some of those realistic targets. And there are guys out there that they can bring in. Not necessarily all-star calibers, but just solid players who can definitely buffer that roster and help the Bucks out going into next season in the Eastern Conference. So Giannis Antetokounmpo, man, Bucks fans, calm down, hold your horses, get out of the frenzy. I don't think Giannis has given anyone any indication that he's leaving Milwaukee. He's already said multiple times that he wants to stay. All you guys have to do is show up, support, and get on your GMs, get on your organization, make sure that they're doing their due diligence, make sure that they're doing their job to bolster this roster, put the best lineup on the floor possible so that you guys can have a more legitimate shot at going deep in the playoffs and making a championship run. All right, we got news with Chris Paul. Chris Paul, I guess he shut down any potential trade talks to the Los Angeles Lakers. I guess there's a quote out there. He said there's really nothing for him to do with the Lakers other than just ring chase. And ring chasing is not what Chris Paul wants to do. He says that's stacking the deck. And I don't necessarily think it would be stacking the deck, because to bring a guy like Chris Paul in, you would have to mortgage a lot of players and a lot of draft picks. I think it would handicap the Lakers more so than anything to bring a guy like Chris Paul in, and there would be a conflict at point guard position. It would force LeBron James, your current playmaker, off ball. Chris Paul would have to come in and sacrifice. He would have to also sacrifice a lot of what he can do, because he would then have to share the playmaking duties with a guy like LeBron James. So I just don't think that was ever a good fit for the Lakers. Rondo had the perfect role with that team. He had already accepted, he's been there. He's already accepted a role off the bench. He's excelled in it in the playoffs. And he's had experience playing with LeBron James. So I think that's probably the dream point guard scenario that the Lakers want. I don't think they want to bring in a guy like Chris Paul who's immediately going to take over point guard duties and push LeBron James off ball. That's probably not the best fit for that team. You would have to revamp your entire offense and culture just to make that happen. Chris Paul, he's coming out and saying he doesn't want to stack the deck. I'm curious to see where you go, Chris Paul. If that's the case, then your destination may be the Knicks. And again, we say with all of these players with these humongous contracts, all of these players with these extremely large contracts, whether it's 1 or 2 years left on the deal, I don't see contending teams trading for these guys. It's just too much money. It's too much to sacrifice. And in this particular climate right here, where we don't know what the salary cap's going to do on a year-to-year basis, whereas before we could project it, I don't see teams taking that leap, especially contending teams. I don't see them taking that leap or taking that type of risk to mortgage themselves for a guy like Chris Paul, who's already aging. Now, I can see Chris Paul with the Knicks. I can see Chris Paul with the Suns. I mean, when we're talking about teams like that, we're talking about teams who have a very pressing need at the point guard position. And from what I'm hearing, the trade talks with the Suns are heating up. They're looking for a third or fourth team that can get involved to help kind of shift some picks around, make some picks available, and deal with some teams with a little bit of cap flexibility to make some things happen. We know over in Phoenix, we know Kelly Oubre. It's not necessarily rumored, but it's basically a done deal that Oubre is going to get traded. That's already established. Guy like Rubio, we know that they're looking for a more sound point guard. Rubio's been great. Rubio's been solid, but he's dealt with some injuries. Along with the fact that he's one of the worst mid-range shooters in the NBA, and for a point guard that runs a lot of pick and roll, that kind of handicaps what they can do, and it kind of handicaps that team's ability to stretch the floor because of Rubio. So there are teams out there looking for a true point guard. Chris Paul could step in and immediately fill those roles. But even in bringing in a guy like Chris Paul at his age and with his injury history, that also comes with a risk. So teams are really going to have to shoot for the moon when trading for him. You're going to have to give up a lot. I think the only team that can make a solid offer that's going to benefit all parties involved is going to be the Phoenix Suns. They have the tradable assets. They have $20 million in salary cap available, not just to bring in Chris Paul, but also to bring in another marquee free agent to bolster that roster even more. So you guys, man, be on the lookout for the Phoenix Suns next year. They have a very interesting situation that no one's talking about. With the cap space and with the ability to trade Oubre and Rubio, it's going to create a very, very interesting scenario if they can successfully secure a third or fourth team in these trade talks and make this trade happen. I'm hearing one of those teams could be the Dallas Mavericks. You never know with OKC. But it's going to take a third team. They're hashing out the details now. I'm curious to see what OKC can get figured out. We know that OKC's building towards the future. They don't want to take on any long-term money. They don't want to take on a lot of older guys. They just want to tear everything down and build up from the draft and build up with young players. And there are some teams that can benefit from that. But Chris Paul, again, as I just stated, he doesn't want to go to the Lakers. At the end of the day, I didn't think a trade to the Lakers was possible at all. Again, with the money involved and with what the Lakers don't have the tradable assets to cover that amount of money. That's $40 million. They would have to do some signing trades. They would have to do some pretty interesting stuff with Kyle Kuzma, maybe Markieff Morris, and a Danny Green to kind of make the money work. So, like I said, Chris Paul, man, we wish you the best with whatever team you go to. I hope to see you here in Phoenix. That would be a deadly combination. I want you guys, let me know in the comments, what do you think about that combination, a Devin Booker and a Chris Paul? Do you guys think that Chris Paul's usage would affect Devin Booker? I don't necessarily think it would affect him. Devin Booker's not really necessarily a ball-dominant guy. He can usually get his shot off in 1 to 2 dribbles. He's great at catch and shoot. He's great at spot up. He can make quick moves to the basket. He doesn't waste a lot of dribbles. I think it would be a seamless pairing. I think it would look beautiful on the court. And with Monty Williams, with his experience already coaching Chris Paul for 1 year before, Chris Paul's already stated in the past that he loves what the Phoenix Suns are doing. He loves their offense. I think this is something that Chris Paul wants to make happen. Chris Paul wants to make this trade to the Suns happen. And so, again, as you know, a lot of times when people come out and say certain things, when Chris Paul comes out and says certain things like he doesn't want to play for the Lakers, you guys got to think, you got to get understanding of what he's doing right there. What he's doing is he's eliminating teams from trade conversations. If the Lakers were potentially inquiring about a Chris Paul, they no longer are now. By Chris Paul coming out saying, oh, he doesn't want to go there or he doesn't want to go here, what he's doing is he's eliminating teams from that trade conversation. I think that those teams are they're not going to want to trade for a disgruntled Chris Paul. They're not going to want to bring him in if he doesn't want to be there. And so when he says things like that, he's eliminating teams. He's kind of narrowing the gap as to where OKC can actually trade him. Now, they say that he can go to the Clippers. Again, that's another trade scenario that I think is extremely difficult to make. Clippers would have to mortgage so much. Obviously, it would definitely cost them Zubac. It would probably cost them Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams. Is it worth it to bring in a Chris Paul just to pair him with a PG and Kawhi Leonard? All right, what is your bench going to look like? What other guys are you going to bring in? Do they have any trade exceptions or mid-level exceptions to bring in veteran guys? Kind of tough, but with no draft picks and with no cap space, I don't see the Clips making a push to sign Chris Paul when they already have Paul George and a Kawhi Leonard. So you guys, man, like I said, man, be on the lookout for the Phoenix Suns. They are aggressively pursuing Chris Paul, and they have the tradable assets to do it without absolutely mortgaging everything that they have on that roster. So again, kudos to all the teams involved, but just be students of the game. See what Chris Paul is doing. He's trying to pave his way to a certain team, and it's probably going to be Phoenix. Mark my words. All right, so we got some more trade news. I've been telling you guys. I told you guys a couple weeks ago. Remember I told you guys in the live chat. I said the Lakers are too quiet. They're brewing up something slick. They're doing something over there with these guys opting out, opening up salary cap space possibly as soon as free agency hits. They are trying to bring in another star. All right, and I've said this for the last month. They are going to bring in another star, and they're going, and what LeBron is going to do, he's going to continue making everyone mad, and everyone's going to say he's trying to stack the deck more and more and more. All right, and I've been adamant about this. They're going, and I even went as far as mentioning that a guy like DeMar DeRozan will be in LA. Now the trade hasn't happened. They haven't made anything happen yet. We don't know, but we know that DeMar DeRozan, he does have a player option. He can decline that player option. He can possibly work a sign and trade with his money stretched out. That's not going to be as much of a cap hit to the Lakers if they trade for him. And it's going to make that Kuzma and Danny Green trade a bit more possible. Now, the key to this is, are the Spurs satisfied with getting Kuzma and Danny Green in return? Danny Green is probably going to be a one-year rental, or he's just going to be trade bait for a playoff team. I don't think the Spurs, especially if they trade DeMar DeRozan, I don't think they'll be a playoff team. I honestly do not think they'll be a playoff team. They struggled this year. Lamarcus Aldridge, we don't know what his health is like. He's not the same guy that we saw in Portland. Ever since he's been in San Antonio, he's been an absolute shell of himself. Looks like he's a tad bit out of shape, like he's gained weight. He doesn't have the same quickness, doesn't have the same mobility. He's too slow to play power forward anymore. You can only put him at center. He stopped shooting those threes that made him a stretch big. So, I mean, he's kind of limited his game. I think Lamarcus Aldridge is also on the move. Where he might go, I don't know. I've been hearing a lot of different things, but they've been kind of mum on that Lamarcus Aldridge move. And because they've been mum on Lamarcus Aldridge, that tells me right there they have something in mind with regards to what specifically they want to do with him once the draft hits and once free agency hits. But with DeMar DeRozan, it's just a very interesting situation. Are they going into rebuild mode? I would have to predict yes. They would have to go into rebuild mode. And if they bring in a guy like Kuzma, that's going to be the biggest indication that they're looking to rebuild. And Danny Green probably wouldn't be a San Antonio Spur for too long if they did pull the trigger on that deal. That deal would have to include some draft picks. So I think a deal for DeMar DeRozan would have to include multiple players or multiple teams. Because I don't see San Antonio taking that deal straight up. They are going to want draft picks in return, and draft picks that are viable at that. I don't think they're just going to take some second-round picks or some low first-round picks. I think a third team's going to have to be involved to push the Spurs up into that 15 to 17 range, where I feel like there are a lot of valuable players in this year's NBA draft. This year's NBA draft is much deeper than what people believe. I just think that a lot of people don't know the guys in the draft. And again, when you're talking about Nico Mannion, Cole Anthony, Devin Vassell, I mean, Killian Hayes. I mean, you're talking about outside of the lottery or just borderline in the lottery. You're talking about a lot of talent. You got those guys from Florida State. You got a lot of lengthy players out of Memphis. I mean, this draft is going to surprise some people. And the best thing about this draft and the best thing that these rookies have in their favor is that it's a month and they hit the ground running. NBA games are going to be played. There's not going to be any video on them. Nobody's going to be able to scout them. They're not going to be able to see them in summer league. These rookies can just hit the floor running and just kind of surprise everybody. So going to this NBA season, I expect to see some of these rookies just take off high octane because teams don't have a scouting report on them yet. And that's just, that's how it normally is. We've seen it happen. Now, normally once they get that scouting report on you, they can lock in and slow you down. But I see some of these young guys starting off with a bang and a lot more than what we're anticipating. All right, so we think can play this weekend. All right, we just got some LaMelo Ball news. If you guys haven't, before we get started in our segment, if you guys haven't checked out Ball Facts, you need to go check out his YouTube page. Ball Facts just dropped a video yesterday, giving you a great breakdown on Lonzo Ball and LeVar Ball's relationship, and how Lonzo Ball is taking accountability for his poor play. He's came out and vehemently stated this has nothing to do with his dad. He clearly stated that his dad has been like this his whole life. He's used to it. It was nothing that he hadn't heard before. It was no pressure from his dad. It was all him along with the injuries and just along with him just not performing. I think I like what Lonzo Ball did, coming out, shutting a lot of the noise down. I mean, you got a lot of YouTube pages, a lot of people coming out with these negative stories, with these fictitious narratives about that Ball family. Make sure you guys go check out Ball Facts. Go check out his channel. Man, great channel. Great coverage on the balls. He's sponsoring a young guy out of Chicago. I mean, you guys really need to go check this guy out, man. Hopefully, I'm going to try to get with him behind the scenes. I'm going to try to I'm going to work with him to try to put together an IRL basketball game with everybody in this community. So again, I respect him a lot. I respect his contact, him, DKM, AB the Hero. Those are the go-to sources. Anything related, anything, and even DJ Raw's Uncut Truth. Those are the go-to sources for real factual news on the Ball family. LaMelo Ball, Lonzo Ball, LeVar Ball, Jello Ball. If you want it, that's where you need to go. That's who you need to go check out. But we got LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball actually held a second workout in front of the Warriors, Hornets, and Pistons personnel. I don't know if he's just trying to gauge some things. I don't know if these teams are trying to give him a second look because they were considering trading this pick. But I think the Warriors, I think the Warriors are kind of playing pigeon with this. I think they're trying to get some teams to think that they want to draft LaMelo Ball, and maybe they can trick a team into trading up while they trade down and get the person or player that they really want, along with snagging somebody else along the way. I think the Warriors are playing a game with teams right now. I do not think they're going to keep whoever they draft. They are in championship mode right now. There is no player in this draft that's going to help you win a championship next year. There is no player that can give you that instant impact. For all of the people that are saying that James Wiseman is going to be that guy, he's not. All right, because nobody's had a large enough sample size of what he can do to know that he's going to be the guy to lead you to a championship. We saw him at Memphis. We saw him at 5 or 6 games against bottom dweller college teams that none of you guys have heard of. Some of those teams are D2 teams. So, again, we haven't seen enough of James Wiseman. I think a lot of people are just going off footage that you see. The man only played a few games last year before he was suspended by the NCAA. We don't have enough film. We don't have enough evidence of him playing high-level competition to know if he can come straight into the NBA and be that dude. I just think that there's no verdict out on him, although my gut tells me that he's going to eventually end up being a solid player in the NBA. I just don't know if he's going to make the transition that quick, especially as a big who has struggled to shoot the ball outside of 8 feet. But LaMelo Ball, I would love to see this guy with the Knicks. I mean, the Knicks need to be doing anything they possibly can to trade up to get this guy, because at this point in time right now, the Knicks are not going to be competitive. They need to find some way to bring some electricity back to New York City, and you need to bring the most electrifying player in this draft. That's LaMelo Ball. All right, you need a point guard. You don't have a point guard. You need somebody who can jumpstart and help get RJ Barrett going, and your big going. If you don't do that, Julius Randle needs to get set up. Mitchell Robinson needs to get set up. RJ Barrett needs to get set up. That only happens if you bring in an elite playmaker, somebody who's pass first and willing to give the ball up to those guys so they can do their job. So I think the Knicks have to go after them. The Pistons desperately need a point guard, although at the Pistons spot they can trade up or they can even stay where they are. There are, you got Killian Hayes and you got Tyrese Halliburton right around that range for the Pistons. So the Pistons, I think they have that safe area right there. They don't have to force anything to go up if they don't have a deal that they're comfortable with. I think they can stay right where they're at, and they have 3 options at point guard that they can go with, along with making a number of trades to get better at the point guard position. So I want you guys to let me know, what do you think about LaMelo Ball's game? Honestly, because I don't think I've gotten a real good gauge on how you guys feel about LaMelo Ball. Did you guys see any of his NBL games? All right, because I know a lot of people say he can't shoot. I don't think that's entirely true. I think he can shoot. I think percentages lie. When you play on a team, he went to the NBL and he played on one of the worst teams in the NBL, on top of the fact that it was a competitive league filled with a lot of former NBA players. I think that can affect his shooting. That's a more physical league. They allow hand checking. They allow some of the pushing and shoving. And so when he drove, he wasn't getting some of the calls that he would naturally and normally get in the NBA. So I think he did himself a favor by going over there to kind of adjust to the physicality of playing with stronger players, faster players, and players who've been in the NBA. I think he's the most NBA-ready guy right now. And as long as he comes in with his head on straight, and he's looking to improve the team and he's not playing selfishly, he's going to be great. All right, but that's what we got on LaMelo Ball. Hey, that rounds up the news for the day right there, man. It's been a great morning show. Like I said before, we're going to try to do these just kind of roundup conversations or just news shows every Friday, just to kind of give you a summary of what's going on. Like I already said this week, man, we looking forward to the draft. We're going to be doing the NBA draft live. All right. So again, when the NBA draft, we're going to be following along right with the draft here at FYF Sports. Not only are we going to be following along with the draft, we're going to be doing live giveaways. All right. We're going to be having panelists come in. We're going to have panelists come in when the picks go to the second round. We're going to start doing cash giveaways. If you can pick the next player that's going to get drafted, if you can pick it, if you guess correctly in that second round, we're going to be giving out cash prizes. So on the day of the draft, you guys are going to want to make sure that you're here at FYF Sports. We got a lot of big things coming. We got NBA players coming in, current NBA players, not retired, not old guys. We're talking about current NBA players, not guys that are overseas. We're going to have current NBA players on our live streams. That's going to be starting pretty soon here. We got some guys that are in the draft. We got some interviews with them lined up. We got new videos dropping on our Patreon. We got part 3 of that mini-series that a lot of you guys have been waiting on. That's going to be dropping on the Patreon as well. Like I said, unfortunately, I just made the decision to just not drop it on YouTube, not on this platform right here. It's not necessarily causing problems because I know you guys love the video, and I'm not worried about any pushback from anybody else. But with sponsors looking at the channel, with other people looking at the channel, we got fans who don't know anything about Ticket TV or even that situation entirely right there. So because of that, just to take away any confusion from the content that we're trying to push on this channel, we're going to have to release that video on another platform. So for the people that are really invested in that, you can sign on for the Patreon. I know that everyone doesn't have $10 to sign up for the Patreon. I'm not doing this for a money ploy. I'm not just trying to collect money. It's not a cash grab. So if for whatever reason you don't have the $10 to support the channel, that's fine. Just hit me up in the email. The email's in the link of the video, business@fyfsports.com, and I will send you a direct link to watch the video for free. All right, because I don't want you guys feeling like I'm just trying to do some cash grabbing and get your money from Patreon. No, it's not about that. It's just about keeping that type of content off this channel. Again, I don't want to create a toxic atmosphere. Whether you like Ticket TV, whether you hate Ticket TV, whether you like some of these other channels like RB The Breakthrough and Carsino, whether you don't, we accept everybody here on this channel. We accept your voice. And so again, I don't want people to feel like there's a divide or it's us versus another channel. It's not us versus anybody else. FYF Sports, we're on a whole different wavelength. All right, we're on a whole different lane. We're going somewhere completely different. You look at other channels, they box themselves in a corner. They only do a certain type of content. They only talk about certain type of players. They're only doing live streams. If you look over here, they're pushing more of hip hop type entertainment vibe. Again, we want to create the vibe where we create content for everybody, whether it's our reaction videos, whether it's the player v player breakdowns, whether it's the live streams, whether it's the podcast videos. We want to give you guys a plethora of content where everyone has something that they can enjoy over here, on top of the fact that it's not going to be toxic. It's all positivity. We pushing a positive message. We giving back with the giveaways, with the cash giveaways. And so again, that's the type of narrative that I want to push over here. I want a more inviting feel. So again, it's no hate, it's no shade to other platforms. We try to keep it sports. We try to keep it basketball over here. We joke around. We talk about other stuff. It's not always all sports, but at the end of the day, it's about keeping this platform as toxic free as possible. We don't want it on that toxicity. All right, we don't block people. We don't do none of that. Everyone's welcome, but we won't invite that toxic attitude, that toxic behavior over here on FYF Sports. Hey, but it's been a great breakdown video. We'll be back next Friday with another weekly breakdown. We're gonna try to do that every Friday for you guys. I think you guys deserve that. But hey, until then, we're gonna keep grinding. Make sure you join our live stream tonight, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All NFL talk. All right, we're also going to be working on doing those live streams, at least with a consistent pattern on Fridays. We got to chop it up on the NFL this week. Make sure you join our live stream Saturday. We're going to be talking about battle rap. I know we got a lot of guys who wanted to dive in on that topic as well. So we're holding a special live stream for you guys. We got to dive in on that battle rap topic along with a number of other topics. Might even touch on some MMA and some boxing as well. Hey, but it's been FYF Sports, man. It's been another great podcast video, and we out.